Hi, everyone. Michelle D'Ambra here with Josephine Zanetti. Hi, Josephine.
Hi, Michelle. Nice seeing you again.
You too. So this week we're going to talk about menopause. Not a fun subject.
No, especially for women today that actually start early menopause way earlier than before. For some reason, there's a lot of reasons why, but one thing to start your menopause in your 50s, and another when you have to start your menopause at the age of 30.
And, perimenopause is about 15 years before you actually start going into the most difficult menopausal part. I believe I was going through that in my middle 30s, and which makes sense because of my menopause. I was finished at 50. But, a lot of people who are struggling with adrenal burnout problems and hormone problems are probably going to have a hard time in menopause. And that'll start showing up in your 30s, 40s. And this is where women start to feel super emotional. Your cycles may be irregular. You may not have them. You may have them too often. You may bleed too much, and anyone who's on estrogen or birth control pills, that's making things worse, especially when you eventually come off the pill. It's going to be very difficult. We see this with women with copper toxicity. And then the copper IUD is terrible. If you have that, I would get it out. It's not good. It's so many women are struggling with major health issues because of the copper IUD.
Yeah, and there is a new kind of IUD. Apparently, it's not made of copper. Some women, actually, doctors or naturopaths do suggest for some women who have menopausal issues to have this kind of IUD. I can't remember what it's made of, but apparently it alleviates symptoms of headaches and whatever else that they have, bloating or bad moods, and apparently it alleviates the symptoms. But I'm not so sure if that's another Band-Aid again.
That's what it is a Band-Aid. I got on the pill in my teens because all my friends were telling me that they had their cycles weren't as painful and as bad, and they didn't bleed as bad. So that's why I got on the pill, because I had horrendous pain.
Oh, wow.
Days before I would have to take off of school, I'd be at home, I'd be in pain from my waist all the way down to my feet. The cramping was so unbelievable that I thought, if this is what it's like to have children, I'm not going to have any. I didn't have any children. The pain was that bad. And then I would also have migraines. So the pill cured that, but really all it did was mask that I had a huge problem. And that problem was I didn't have enough progesterone.
Right.
And that now that's been my problem, is that I didn't have enough progesterone.
Right. I mean, there are things that can be done for that, like you said. I mean, so these, because that's what you're on now, right? The bioidentical, but
yeah. So,
and
I think that maybe if you're younger, they can help you balance out, but you'll have to work on diet and stress to make sure that you're not contributing to the copper zinc imbalance. So there's a lot of things that can be done preventatively with the support of the hormones, and to try and regulate it. Because if you have a high stressful life and constantly working out, working too much, not sleeping enough, then you're probably using up a lot of progesterone through pregnenolone steal. So it'll convert to cortisol. And that's why a lot of women will struggle with having enough progesterone and become estrogen dominant. These are one of the many things, like the copper zinc imbalance. So you'll, working on the stressors in your life so that you're not stealing this hormone to make cortisol. Back in the old days, we only used it to go, run from something that was dangerous. but now we're junkies. We're literally adrenaline junkies. Like, think of people who love to jump out of a plane. We know they're adrenaline junkies, but the person who works too much, works out a lot, has a lot of drama and stress, which is usually related to childhood trauma and having that stressful environment, you get addicted to the hormones of stress. So fixing these things are going to be really important long term, because if you can avoid not being on hormones long term, that would be best, of course. But like me, I'm still on them. I don't take as much because I've been balancing my body chemistry. So at one time I was taking double the progesterone. So I don't need as much because I'm not as stressed out and I've balanced my body chemistry. So I'm not against bioidentical hormones. I think that when you're in menopause, if you don't have enough hormones, that can lead to health issues as well. So there's a balancing act as we age. You know, you don't want to be completely with no estrogen, you know, waking up with night sweats, you know, hot all the time. You're going to have problems with your bones, you know, so there's a balance there.
That's right, because so the whole key is to try to alleviate stress in your life, whether it's a job, whether it's a relationship, also going out at night and then coming home late and getting up early in the morning because you got to go to work. I mean, that's going to be eventually detrimental when you get into your 50s, because it's going to really start bothering you. May not bother us when we're in our 30s because we don't, like you said, we're junkies. The adrenaline, it's like that's all we're doing, right? We're going a mile a minute. But quite honestly, menopause, we can avoid it. It's going to come, right? And some of us, it's earlier than others. Some people, they can have their menopause starting, their menses could stop even at 55 or something like that, which is okay. But, you know, like mine stopped in my mid 50s at 53. And then, but before that, before I reached that, I started having the migraines, and it was like, oh my God, I mean, and nauseating and the whole thing. So it was, and really what I needed to do was to change certain things, my food, or also rest, because I wasn't resting enough. Really, the whole thing here, it's like, you know, we wonder why some people in certain countries do better than others. And it's not always about their diet. Of course, they don't eat junk food and they don't go to Burger King every day. But it doesn't mean that their diet is 100% either. Like, let's say, Italians, for example, okay, in Italy. But their stress level, even though the cost of living is very high there, it's completely different than ours because they live with family. And therefore, they have a security blanket. And financially, I mean, I think the reason that women are feeling more and more menopausal today than they did maybe like 50, 60 years ago is because we don't have the financial security that these women may have had before, because they got married, they had children. We're talking in general here, right? So of course, there's always the exception in everything. But in general, that's the way it was. And so today, stress definitely will get your menses irregulated. You'll have the PMS. And then even your menopause could start much earlier because of that, because the things that women did before are not doing anymore. And many women are doing jobs of men, actually. You know, I got these women that do not just landscaping, but they're able to put these big rocks, and you know, they actually excavate. And I've had a young girl at 26 years old that came over, and I did say, do you intend to do this on the long term? Oh, she said yes. Oh yeah, because it pays. It's a lot of money. It's not like in the old days that used to be a slaving job. Today it's like they make more money than engineers and lawyers,
right?
And they don't even have to go to school, right? But so this is a young woman of 26 years old and she's big, you know, already. And I can see that if she does this job, she's going to have some problems. Now, my electrician that comes here, she's a young woman, and she hasn't had her periods for I don't know how many years. Okay. But she doesn't equate the fact that electricity and hormones have an effect. It may not have an effect on men as it does on women, because we do have reproductive organs. You know, we reproduce. So that's why they were put there. You know, I mean, God did he's the one who created this, and he had a plan for us as he had a plan for men. But now we're like unbalanced, okay? And it's not just one thing, it's everything, right? I mean, you kind of wonder why so many things are upside down. But with the menopause, that's what I've noticed with some clients. We do have clients at they're premenopausal, like you said, in late 20s, early 30s. They stop their menses, period. Then they got no periods, but they get the symptoms, the hot flashes and everything. Yeah.
And I noticed too, in my experience, is that when my sex hormones were going really down in my 40s, my adrenal glands took over, and I had this extra stress energy from cortisol. In fact, I remember getting my blood test for morning cortisol in 2014, and it was double the high.
Oh, wow.
At like 8 a.m. So what I was doing is I was getting up and exercising. So what happens is you almost can't help yourself because this adrenaline is coursing through your body. So you'll see a lot of women, you know, I used to be a Beachbody coach, and these women are in their 40s, are like working out like crazy. They're going to school. Like, women are their most ambitious, I think, from 40 to 50. My mother went through college and got her bachelor's degree in her 40s. I remember this. And that's because the adrenal glands are taking over because your hormones are being depleted. So unless you understand and know what's going on, you're just going to give into this. You're going to be ambitious, you know, and to some degree, it's kind of nice because you have that extra energy to accomplish more in your life. But I'm just kind of giving a gentle warning that you're using up this bank account and this engine that's going to take over when your ovaries are not producing hormones anymore, and that it could be an issue. So when you feel this extra energy, just make sure you're balancing out with doing more calm things and not, you know, from the time you wake up till the time you go to bed, just going. It's very important that you conserve that, because, you know, I gained 40 pounds going through menopause, extreme burnout. My days are really work and taking care of the animals. I can't even, you know, do much else, because my busy time used to be filling up things. Now my busy time is my important stuff and resting, because that's really all I have the energy for. So I'm just giving a gentle warning out there that you're going to feel this extra energy, and it's your adrenal glands that are pumping out all this cortisol to take over because your ovaries are not producing sex hormones, and to, you know, exercise caution by not overexerting yourself, not doing high intense cardio, you know, going out there and cycling and doing an hour-long cardio class every day. That's going to be detrimental to you, and you won't be able to lose weight later. You won't. You can eat healthy. You can do all those things. You will not be able to lose weight. And I used to see these women in the gym teaching classes in their 40s. I'm like, wow, they're doing all this cardio and they're carrying all this extra weight. And I remember like asking these questions in my head. I'm like, is it because their diet is bad and then they exercise their diet off, or is it hormone? Like, I was wondering why. And now I know it's because you can't lose weight. It's almost impossible to lose weight when your sex hormones are gone and you've shot.
That's right. It's that goes for men as well, you know, with this. I have a client who, you know, tells me he feels much better on the program. So on days that he has all the energy, he uses it up. all of it. And of course he crashes it. He's going to crash the next day, and the crash usually is going to last for a week, and then, oh gee. But so I try to let people know, the clients, to know it's like money, you know, you got to save that energy like you would save money. Of course, some people are like, they like the,
oh, we lost
obviously.
you. There you go.
Oh, okay.
It's okay.
It's okay. So most people like to put the debts on their credit cards, so they do the same thing with their energy, right? So it's like, not because you got all that energy during the day. It's hard, I know. I mean, it's a discipline to think, you know, because I'm guilty of that as well. As soon as I feel like Samson, you know, all of a sudden I feel like I'm able to do just about anything. But I pay the price the next day, always pay the price the next day. And it doesn't pay off, because then it could last for a couple of days or even 3 days. So that one day that you get that energy, you know, and feeling really good and using it all up, then it could take you a week before you regain some energy. So it really takes time. It's like you really gotta save it. I know it sounds cliche, and you know, but when we burned on both hands, both tips, it's like eventually it takes time to regain that energy, because it's not something that happens overnight. I mean, there's no pill that's going to give it to you, you know. They'll give it to you for maybe a short while, but that too is going to make you crash eventually. Or give you
even with hormones, like even though I'm getting the hormones, I can tell that I'm stealing the progesterone, because that's what happens is during the stressful times that I was on the hormones, I needed more progesterone. And then remember that time, Josephine, when I was having postmenopausal bleeding, I had to get a DNC because I had a lot of stress going on. So I was stealing all that progesterone, and I was taking 400 milligrams every night, which is a lot. Now I'm down to 200, and now I understand this better. So like the rest of this day, I'm not going to do a whole lot, because I'm already tired for the day, you know. But for a while, even the past couple of years, I was trying to exercise and I was doing too much. And what happened was I created a calcium shell. So we'll see this on the hair test, is your body responding to what you're doing and how it's responding. So for me, that walking was too much. I was walking like 3 miles, probably 5 times a week. And that was too much because my sodium was high. And then I had a calcium shell. So that's stress. My body wasn't able to handle that. So now that I've eliminated that stress, I can actually feel how tired I am. So now my busy time is doing nothing.
Yeah. You know, putting our 2 feet up. And also another thing that really causes us a lot of stress is the cell phone, right? We think we take it, we look at the news, we see what's going on. But while we're doing that, we're not realizing all the EMF that is coming towards us while we're doing it, okay? And it's the same with the computer, because I remember when I started with the computer years ago, I didn't feel the burn that I feel now, even with the computer. So of course, you know, it started with G1, now we're already at G5. So of course it emits much more than it did before. So even if we don't do anything during the day, but we're only doing this, let's say, only this, that's worse than exercise, quite honestly, for me.
Well, and it's also a dopamine thing. So you're messing with your neurotransmitters if you're constantly checking your phone. A few years ago, what I decided to do, because I have so many different email accounts with both my businesses, that I turned off all my alerts on my phone, so that I'm not constantly being dinged and wanting to look at my phone. So that curbed a lot of me responding to my phone. I didn't want my phone to control me. I didn't want my alerts to control me. So I do that. I use Do Not Disturb after 7 o'clock at night. And I keep that on until the morning when I'm ready to accept phone calls. And, you know, just kind of set up those boundaries. And to me, it's self-care. You know, I don't want to be accessible to everybody all the time. So I ignore things. If I don't want to respond, I just don't respond, because I'm in my self-care time. And that to me is really important because I really can't be there for other people if I'm not taking care of myself.
No.
So that's helpful. Dimming the lights at night, like you have to kind of train your body to start shutting down. So after dinner, you know, everything goes into slow motion for me. And I use this app that's been helping me see like my stress and then how my recovery is. It's called Welltory. And I can scan it.
How do you spell it?
It's Welltory.
Okay.
And it'll monitor your health, your energy, you know, things like that. So like, for instance, at 5:40 this morning, you know, my stats were pretty good. My health was good. My energy is always low, but if it's not, this is not red, I'm good. That's for me. That's my baseline. So there's not a lot of stress, you know, the greener, this is the better. Whereas like after a day of work, you know, working with accounting and stuff, this is what it usually looks like. I'm very red and depleted. So what I'll do is go, okay, I used more energy than I had today. I got to pay bills, you know, I got animals to take care of, you know, whatever. So I'll eat my dinner and then I get on the floor, I stretch, I do some deep breathing, I foam roll, and then I will test it a couple hours later when I'm relaxed and, you know, just doing my thing. And I'll see those numbers, a recovery. You know, whereas before I wasn't recovering because I wasn't doing those things. So now I do those relaxation things, play with the dogs.
Is that accurate? Right? You think that app pretty much?
I think so, because I can tell, I can see and feel what's going on. I can feel when I'm internally stressed and I'll test it and it'll show me that my energy is completely depleted.
Well, everybody that's listening now should consider getting that app actually and see.
It's helpful. You know, what you do is if you don't have an Apple Watch, there's this little like icon and you put your finger on the back where the camera is and it'll take your reading for a minute, your pulse. But if you have a Apple Watch, which I do, it'll automatically send readings like when I'm sleeping and stuff. So I can even tell there's times I get stressed because I have my autonomic nervous system from multiple traumas to my back and my neck. I actually don't have a good night's sleep and it'll report it. And I can see that I wake up in the red, which is really bad.
Wow. Is that like artificial intelligence already?
I guess.
Is that the beginning? You would think?
Probably, but that's a whole nother story. But you know, if these tools are there, you know, they're good to be useful. So now I know that if I see that red, that I have to do something to relax, because if I keep going, it's going to be detrimental. I'm going to get, so anybody who's getting sick, that's your body's way of telling you that you are doing way too much. When I used to do too much, I would get a cold, I would get bronchitis, I would get the latest sickness, but that's because I wasn't taking care of myself. You know, God's in the universe and your body's intelligent. It's going to tell you to lay down, you know, it's going to have you break your foot, you know, get sick, you know, these things is God's way of saying, you're doing way too much. And since you're stubborn and prideful, I'm going to hurt you. And stay in bed.
Yes, because we're stubborn, right? We're stubborn. I mean, even if we're really tired, there's days I'm really tired and I'm pushing myself. And, you know, we got clients who want to take naps in the afternoon and they find that it's hard for them, because even if they have the time to do it, it's hard for them because they've whipped that horse so much. And that's me, that even if I lay down, it's like I almost need some music in the back. I would need to hear a river flow going down, and
Me
I
too.
mean the whole thing. I mean, because I've whipped that horse so much, and you think, well, what are you doing, right? Well, there's always something to be done. 24 hours in a day seems like it's not enough. I don't know what it is. We were just talking about this, me and Michelle, just before we started. It's like last week, we're already this week kind of thing, you know?
But those things that you do in the beginning, they're really difficult. You know, I remember I was such a high stress person that my leg was shaking all the time. And, you know, I couldn't focus. I would get up and move around a lot. And I remember the first time I took a yoga class, I was in my mid 30s. And during the end where you're in, you know, laying down and it's supposed to be the time that you totally let go, I was so antsy, I would get up and leave. That's how high strung I was, that I could barely get through the class and I could not lay there and relax, that I would just, you know, get up and go. And now that's my favorite part. I get on the floor and I'm just like, you know, just lay back. I'd like you, I'll play some music. And in the beginning, it was difficult, but then you train yourself, just like anything. Just like when you go to the gym and you learn a workout, you train yourself to relax. And so what took me a longer time to do, I can literally like feel terrible right now, get off this video, go lay down, and within 15 minutes feel like a new person, because I've trained myself to just go, okay, this is what I got to do. I'm going to push my energy down. I'm going to let go, and I'm just going to sink into this, and it becomes easier.
Yes, absolutely. And that little rest that we take, you know, makes a big difference. So really, it's all about, you know, lifestyle for people who, because I mean, like we said, the menopause, some people still feel their menopause after 65 years old because they're still on the go, right? And they're having a really hard time disciplining themselves and being more relaxed than but you know, I mean, but the biggest thing is to reduce stress. Basically, like we said, reduce your workload if possible. Try to go to bed between 8 and 9 at least.
Have a cleaner diet. Things like sugar and alcohol are going to cause a lot of problems with your hormones, and later through menopause. Like I can't drink alcohol because whenever I would drink going through menopause, I'd have heat flashes, you know, night flashes and stuff, and that would raise my my heartbeat, you know, things like that. So I pay attention to that. I listen to my body and I say, okay, my body's responding this way. I'm going to pay attention. So that means that it didn't like what I did earlier. And it's just training. So in the beginning, stress reduction, I hate to say management, because you should only be managing stress during a situational thing if you're going through a difficult time in your life. But if you're always trying to manage stress, then it's a personality problem. So you should reduce your stress, eat a clean diet, get as much rest as possible. So if you're doing a lot of high strung stuff, then do lower things, resting, playing with your animals, getting out in nature, stretching, deep breathing. You have to offset that stress. And then if you need to, you know, look into, you know, bioidentical hormones or something like that, that might be helpful, you know, to kind of get you through things. If you're in menopause and later and you have no hormones, you might need a little bit more help with that. There's certain natural things like DIM, you know, that helps with cholesterol. Not cholesterol, I mean estrogen, too much estrogen, but that's like eating a whole bunch of cruciferous vegetables. It's just in a pill form, and that helps detox estrogen. If you're having hot flashes during the day, that's estrogen dumping. If you're having the hot flashes at night, from what I've read, it's more of a progesterone problem. So that's what I still have, is I'll wake up hot, but during the day, I don't have the heat flashes that I used to because I'm on hormones. I'm trying to think of what else would be helpful.
Well, I mean, what would be helpful also would be doing some coffee enemas. That would really be helpful for
the liver.
For the liver, because really what's going on also, most people who have these hormone problems is that they really have a toxic liver, and then reason they have a toxic liver, it has to do with the way of life that they led prior, or also our diet when we were children, the traumas and blah, blah, blah.
Stress, anger.
Right.
You know, a lot of us have anger as women because we're trying to do everything. You know, we may not have a supportive spouse. We may be alone, having to do everything on our own. We're in a man's world, doing men things, and that's very stressful for a woman because we should be more intuitive and flowing and relaxed. But when we're in the state of structure and discipline and leading, you're going to have physical problems. That'll be tension in the neck, the shoulder blades, lots of knots, stiffness, because you're doing all this, you know, manly stuff, and it's making you feel too tense. So you want to, you have to, again, balance things out later by stretching, dancing, flowing, and, you know, kind of shake it out, because it's just not good for us to be in that role for a long time. And for the liver, we're going to do a video next week about the liver. I've actually watched my blood work over the past few years with this menopause. My liver enzymes went up. I would say for 2 years, my liver enzymes were high, and they would alternate between the two. So one would be high, one would be in range, then it would flip. So I guess like one's alcoholic, one's non-alcoholic. Right. I was worried about that. I was concerned about the fatty liver, but that I eat healthy. I've been eating healthy for 20 years. So I know it's not my diet. I don't drink alcohol anymore. So I know it's not that. In fact, the doctor looked at me and she's like, you know, you should be careful with drinking. I'm like, I don't drink. You know, this is from my past. But I cleared out my liver over the last 3 months using coffee enemas. I did the sauna, and I used some other things that I'll talk about in the next video. But my latest blood work, all my liver enzymes completely went down, and they're in a very healthy range. So next thing I'm working on is my cholesterol. And this happens to women, you know, that are going into middle age. You're going to have these problems because of thyroid and hormones and the adrenal glands. So if you go into it and you don't eat healthy and you're drinking alcohol, you're going to have a hell of a time. You're going to get high blood pressure. You're going to be on statins. You're going to have, you know, heart problems because it's stressful enough going through the change. And then when you're eating bad and you're drinking alcohol and you're stressed out and you're working too much, you're just asking for trouble.
Oh, yeah. I mean, absolutely. So, I mean, that's one thing that people have to recognize, you know, and the biggest thing is that it also causes anxieties. And then from anxieties, the hormones start to go crazy. So it's like the Chinese says, if the liver is toxic, there's more anger, and the more anger, the liver gets more toxic. So it's a double whammy. So it's like we have to learn to discipline ourselves. I'm really looking forward to next week because I love talking about that, the liver, because most of us have the problem with
I've done a lot of things with the liver. So I'm going to be happy to share all that. And from a physical, emotional, you know, body chemistry, from all angles, we'll get into that, because your liver has the ability to regenerate, but it can't regenerate if you're constantly throwing darts at it.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
And I mean, it can only love you so much, because it doesn't warn you if it gets sick. That's the thing. So that's why we have to really love it. But if you're feeling it.
Yeah. So I had pain in my side, and I couldn't even, like, when I would go put on like pants, when I lift up my right leg, it was so tight. Or when I would do the spinal twist, my right side is still a little bit tight, but I have no liver pain anymore because I dumped all that stuff. Yes. But you're going to see these small signs like that that'll come up with the liver. You know, there's an old saying that, you know, a person's livid. I'm just livid. Well, that means it's liver. Anger is related to the liver. That's where that came from.
Exactly. I never knew that. But I never heard that before.
Yeah. So when somebody says they're livid, that's anger, and it's related to the liver.
To the liver. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, that's it, because it is tied together with the like the anger that we see on the hair test is with the sodium potassium ratio when it's elevated. you know, where people are more frustrated. I mean, the one who have a NAK that's below 2.5, they don't have the energy. They have anger to begin with. They have it, but they can't even.
Internal.
That's right. It's all internal, and it's not expressed. And some of them are numb out with it. But with the NAK, that is a little higher, and it also with the NAK ratio that's higher, it's also inflammation. It's also liver, kidney disease, and all of that too.
And I had all that, and I did a video, if you want to go through my videos, where I talked about inflammation, and I talk about all of that. My inflammation is down. I can stretch. I can totally bend over now and completely touch the floor with my hands totally flat on the floor. I couldn't do that for the past couple of years with all the inflammation. It's really great to get rid of that. So we're just speaking from experience here, both personally and just what we see with our clients and hair tests and diet and supplements. And we appreciate you joining us on this video. We're definitely going to dive deep into liver next week. If you have any questions, just drop us a comment in the comment section, give us a like and share. Anything else, Josephine?
Well, if there's any comments that you want to put in also when you're watching, and there's any questions and you need to have some answers, we'd be happy to respond, because we're able to respond to you guys. So, you know, the more people that share this video, the better it is. And because we do need to be more healthy, consciously as well, physically, spiritually. And I don't see, I mean, this program in some ways, in many ways, it's a beginning. It's just a beginning, basically. You know,
and we're not going into every single thing. We're just kind of scratching the surface of these different things, you know. But if you want to ask me more questions about hormones, you know, like the thyroid, in the beginning, when I was going through menopause, my blood work was showing all kinds of weird things with my thyroid. I got on medication for a year, and then I decided to just deal with it without the medication. And now all my thyroid panels are completely normal for the past 2 years. So, you know, I think sometimes I go through a lot of stuff so that I can share it with other people. So there's a lot of things I haven't talked about. If you want to just send me an email or something, I can respond.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Or they can even send a comment on the YouTube video as well, where people can read it, and then you answer, and they will relate to it as well. So it's like a continuation of this video. Fantastic. Hey, listen, it was nice seeing you again. Hopefully we'll do this next week, God willing, and have a great weekend.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.